Hey folks, welcome to another Passion for Sound audio review. Today we're going to be looking at the Beyerdynamic Amiron Home headphones, a mid-level equivalent to Beyerdynamic's own T1 and T5 headphones, built around the same Tesla technology as those flagship headphones. So coming in straight away, I was expecting good things. I used to own the T1s, loved them for many years, and I must say I wasn't disappointed. But let's get into some more detail and then come around to the sound at the end as usual. So one of the first things you'll notice is the carry case the Amirons come in. I don't see these as a portable headphone so much. They're a bit too big for that, and you can see the size of the case here. This is great if you want to pack them in a suitcase to take them on a long trip where you might want them in a hotel room, for instance, but I don't see them as portable as such. Anyway, opening up the bag, we've got the headphones themselves. I'll get into the design of these in a second. And also a nice long cable. Beyerdynamic have always done pretty good cables in my opinion, and this is no exception to that rule. It's a long cable, much like the T1 has been in the past. So for some people, you may find this too long. For me, I like it because it allows me to relax on a lounge, sit back in a chair, and not have to be too close to the source unit. One thing to point out straight away with this cable is it's got a twin entry into the headphones. So you'll see holes on the bottom of the headphones here. These plugs very simply push in once you work out which is the right and which is the left, and they just simply push in and lock lightly with a very simple locking mechanism. There's nothing proprietary or special here. If you've got a small enough profile plug on a 3.5mm jack, then you could very easily make your own custom cables for the Amirons. That said, I don't think you necessarily need to. They're a really nice cable. It's very supple rubber, and the sound quality is fantastic. So I don't see any need for tweaking cables for the Amirons. Now in terms of the build quality on the Amirons themselves, as you'd expect from a brand like Beyerdynamic, it's beautifully made. We've got a really nice plastic around the outside. It's a high quality plastic. In the center here is this really nice metallic finished grille that's also got a really interesting fabric weave through it. It creates quite a nice sense of texture, but also a softness to take away from that metallic edge. The yokes here are both made of aluminium by the look of them, very sturdy, and then we've got a nice padded headband. All in all, beautifully made. You really couldn't ask for much more. It's clearly been based on some of what worked from the T1 and the T5, and so that's a great thing. It's going to be a good, solid, robust design for many years to come. Now the Amirons are an open design, so this grille here does allow sound to pass through. They're not an extremely open sound like, say, an HD800 from Sennheiser, more like the T1 type design where there is the ability for sound to escape and therefore for sound to get in, but it's not like you're not wearing headphones at all, as it is with, say, something like the HD800. Specifications wise, I'll put an overlay on the screen. What you really need to know about these is that they're 250 ohms, so they're going to take a bit of power to drive them, and they're also around 102 decibel sensitivity. So they're not going to be driven by a plain old mobile phone unless you've got a special audio phone like, say, an LG V30. But from any external DAC like a Dragonfly Red, Meridian Explorer, a couple that I've reviewed recently, those will drive these no problems at all. And obviously a dedicated desktop setup like the main line I've got back here drives it no problems at all. These will also work beautifully with the OTL amplifiers like the Bottlehead Crack, some of the Woo options, some of the little dot amplifiers. These will do really nicely at 250 ohms. They don't need to worry about the output impedance of the device you're connecting them to. So let's talk a bit about the sound. I like the sound of the Amirons. I think they're a really nice evolution, if you like, of what I remember from the original T1 sound. They've taken away some of the brightness and the harshness, and actually Beyer have admitted in their marketing for these that they reviewed that specifically when they were coming up with the new Tesla technology. So that's definitely been tamed. That old 10 kilohertz or so peak has been tamed back a bit. The treble is still prominent, but really smooth, really clean and enjoyable. Those that follow any of my blogs and now my videos, you'll know that I don't tend to like a particularly treble heavy headphone, in as much as I don't enjoy it when it starts to get too sibilant or too cool sounding, too lean, too analytical. I find the Amirons blur the line really nicely between being clean and neutral, but still having enough warmth and not getting into sibilance. So in terms of treble, I really like how these present treble. They're not my personal cup of tea in terms of signature, but they're really nice. In the treble side of things, there's really good extension, really good clarity, and as I said, there's no sibilance. So for those that do enjoy a really crisp, clean sound, the Amirons are certainly going to appeal in the treble sense. Moving on to the mid-range, I had mixed experiences with the Amirons, and I found that it really depended on what I was driving them with, how much I enjoyed the mid-range. Because of their slight preference towards the upper frequencies, the mid-range can get a little bit dry, a little bit reedy sometimes. I mentioned in the written version of the review, Robert Plant's voice on Stairway to Heaven, Led Zepp that is obviously, the sound got a bit dry, a bit reedy and not as enjoyable as I'd like it to be. But again, that depended on what I was driving these with. If I connected the Amirons to something like Beyerdynamic's own Impacto DAC, which I'll be reviewing separately soon, the change in sound was quite significant. Somehow the Amiron's obviously sitting on a very fine edge where a slight tip in the direction of warmth from whatever your source unit is going to bring out a nice ability to play warm from the Amirons. The overall sound with something like the Impacto had a nice lush, clean mid-range. There was still plenty of clarity, so it's not getting into a thick sound by any means, but it just helps to bring that soul and that life back into the mid-range, something that I found was sometimes lacking on certain systems I tried these with. So let's talk about bass. Those who know me know that I like solid bass. I wouldn't classify myself as a bass head, but I do like the bass to be there, to be punchy, to be strong. I want to hear a recording coming back to me through the headphones like I'm sitting there listening to the live musicians. For me, the Amirons don't quite get enough bass emphasis. The bass that's there is fantastic. It's really well delivered. It's controlled. It extends very deep. All of the things that the Tesla technology has been known for. Excellent bass quality, excellent bass control, very fast, punchy sound. I just like a little bit more of it for my own tastes. Once again, the source can vary that slightly, and moving to a slightly warmer source will tend to bring a little bit more weight to the bass, but it never gets to quite the level that I'm looking for. If I give you a comparison, the Amirons to me are more bassy than an HD800 or even the HD800S, the version with more bass from Sennheiser. So they're definitely going to give you more bass than that. But they never get quite as far into the bass as something like the AudioQuest Nighthawks that are still to this day my favorite headphone. For some people that's a great thing. Some people find the Nighthawks to be, they'd call it a bit boomy, a bit emphasized in the upper bass. I certainly prefer that sound because it reminds me of a live venue. These don't do that. So if you're one of those people that sits on the side of not enjoying the Nighthawk sound or wanting something that's a little bit more neutral, these are probably going to be a really nice choice. Staging and presentation from these is good. It's nothing to rave about. It's not like the T1s or the HD800s, but they do a really nice job of presenting a clear, coherent stage. Instruments are really well placed around the stage. I had no complaints whatsoever of the staging on these, but also there's nothing that's stuck out in my mind that makes me want to rave about them. One thing I did notice with the staging was that from time to time, I felt like I couldn't get to all of the music in the presentation. In busier recordings, I'd sometimes find I felt like the front of the music was really clear and available to me, whereas everything behind was a little bit, not muddled, but it was like it was behind a screen almost, if you can imagine it visually. I could still hear it, but it wasn't as clear as I'd like it to be. It's a minor gripe. And it's the difference between why there's the Amiron at one level and the T1 at another. If you want that last tiny piece of excellence, you need to go with something like the Beyerdynamic T1. So overall, I'd say the Amirons are a really nice offering from Beyerdynamic. At about $800 thereabouts here in Australia, they're that level below the T1s in terms of price, which are a bit over $1,000 for the T1s, but they're giving you a really nice level of performance at that price point. These are a great comfy headphone that gives you a nice combination of a relaxed, enjoyable sound, but not sacrificing clarity, detail, and the sort of precision that you might want if you're someone that's used to listening to a T1, HD800, similar type analytic headphones. These just give you a touch more comfort and enjoyment, potentially musicality if you like. So if you are somebody that enjoys detail, neutrality, those analytic type qualities in headphones, but you're also looking for something that's a little bit more enjoyable, maybe a bit easier to listen to for a longer session, these could be a really good choice for you. Do keep in mind that the source that you put it with is going to make a bit of a difference. I do recommend them with a slightly warmer source just to help that mid-range balance with the bass and the treble. But if you've got a few options of source, or if you just generally like a cooler sound, these could be a really good choice for you. They also pair beautifully with the beyerdynamic Impacto DAC. You might have seen some of the photos of that popping up on the slideshow. So do keep an eye out for reviews of the Impacto soon. It's a really good pairing with these two together. If you've enjoyed this review, found it helpful and useful, then we'd love it if you'd hit the thumbs up button down there and like us. At the same time, if you'd like to see more reviews like this, then please do hit the subscribe button and head over to passionforsound.lachlanfennon.com. I'll place a link down below. As always, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on Passion for Sound.